It's an exciting time, and some are experiencing it now, and others have it to look forward to in the next few weeks. I'm talking about spring break. It's good to have fun, but more importantly, to stay safe. Dr. Delaune, Senior Medical Consultant with Allianz Travel Insurance, leads our conversation. It's great to see you, Doctor.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're all so excited. Spring break here for many, right around the corner for some. It continues to unfold, and we are ready after 2 years of COVID-19 to enjoy this. So what are your words of wisdom as we get going?
I think you just said the key. It's after 2 years, and so it's going to be a wild one. Everything is predicting that it's going to be a busier than usual spring break. From my personal experience, I also work as an ER physician, and I know last fall I was working near a big university that had their first home opener. So you had freshmen, sophomores, and juniors who hadn't been out of the house in 3 years and were ready to party. And it was probably the hardest shift I've ever worked in an ER. That was one night. So spring break, several weeks. So I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of action, but also a lot of injuries and a lot of need for medical help and travel assistance. So certainly at this point, parents should have a plan for their kids, and kids should have a plan for when they go down there. If they have a problem, what are they going to do? How are they going to deal with it? I think another thing to think about is COVID. It's still not over. We're all kind of done with the masks, but you still need them on the planes. And then if you're leaving the country, you still need to get tested for COVID when you're coming back in. So that's something to keep in mind. Have a plan. What if you test positive? For example, a lot of people don't realize you can still, even if you're positive, you can come in by boat or ground. So having a backup plan in case you end up positive is a good idea when you're on spring break, especially out of the country. And then certainly having a resource to go to. So, with travel insurance is always a good idea, but now more than ever. So I would recommend people go ahead and they check that box when they're buying their plane tickets or when they're getting their room at Marriott. Check that box that says, I want travel insurance, because this is certainly going to be a good time to have it with the predicted busy season and with all the injuries. And like with one of the companies I work for, Allianz, they certainly sell their policies at AllianzTravelInsurance.com. They also have this really cool Travel Smart app where both parents and kids can look and see, where do I go if I need help? What are the current restrictions at different sites I'm going to? So always a good idea.
Dr. Delaune, it really is one of those things to consider. And as you said, just having these conversations ahead of time, thinking, maybe writing down some of those resources, and certainly visiting the site, because when they're there and they're handy, that makes it really a good place to have everything in one spot. We're out of pattern, we're out of habit, and then you add on being in vacation mode, which we so desperately want to embrace. What are some of the words of wisdom that you share in traveling with kids? You mentioned that with parents checking the site for resources.
Yeah, so with little kids, a couple of things. First of all, we mentioned travel insurance before. A lot of times, if the parents have a policy, their kids are covered with them. So that's always a good idea, because kids, when they're on vacation, they get sick, they get hurt. But then going back to the COVID idea, a lot of little kids especially aren't vaccinated yet, so they're still prone. We still have to wear masks on planes, which kids have been used to masks. It's a normal thing, but now that they're out of it, getting them used to having them on the plane again. So make it a fun thing for kids. I think one thing I recommend is buy a new mask for the trip, maybe with their favorite superhero on it or something, and give it to them for the trip so they're excited about wearing it. Another thing is bring snacks with you on a plane. That way they can pull their mask down, take breaks. It also keeps their hands busy so they're not touching all the contaminated surfaces. So those are just some common sense tips, but just especially for the smaller kids who aren't vaccinated or the kids who are at risk because of any type of immunocompromised situation, you still have to think of it as if we're in the midst of the pandemic for them. Okay to travel, but just take precautions.
Absolutely, and wrap your mind around it, because really it's a whole new world and we're doing things a little differently and again, out of pattern. It's been great talking with you, Dr. Delaune. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We're going to share a little more information so you can learn more. Allianz Travel Insurance. Visit AllianzTravelInsurance.com. And Virginia This Morning returns right after this quick break.